What is up guys, Gautam and Ramesh here, and today we are going to be talking about biceps, yes biceps and triceps, because this is a video about arms, probably a favorite video. So we are going to start off with biceps. Why? Because biceps are a favorite muscle group, correct? We bros like our biceps. So I'm going to keep it brief and start off with a basic understanding of your biceps muscle group. So basically you have your long head right here, which is the outside of your biceps, and your shorter head, which is this, the inside part, and then you have this place is the brachioradialis, correct? We all know this. Now these are the three things that we need to build to have good arms, correct? In terms of a biceps point of view. For this, you need to understand two simple things. One is you need to make sure that you eliminate this motion. That is why we say do not cheat when you do a bicep curl. Now this is your function of your biceps, correct? And this is the function of your anterior deltoids. So whenever you're doing this, you're activating your anterior deltoids, and we don't want that. We want to focus everything on our biceps. That is why it is important to not cheat when you're doing a bicep curl. Cheating once in a while is fine, but make sure you don't cheat all the time and eliminate the work done by the anterior deltoids or your front delts. So this is one thing that you need to remember. The second thing is most of the workout, all the workouts when it comes to biceps or triceps or isolated movements. Now you need to understand what isolated exercises are. Isolated exercises are exercises where you work only one muscle group. For example, when you're doing a bicep curl, you're only working this joint, correct? And you're working only one muscle group. Hence, it is an isolated exercise. Now what is a compound exercise? Compound exercises are exercises where you work more than one joint, like your bench press, right? You're working this joint, you're also working this joint, correct? Now when you notice, all the isolated movements have a semicircular path. Now look at my hand. This is a semicircular path. Why? Because you're working only one joint, and that is the way it should move. Correct. So now you need to understand this. Second thing, it is always better to use cables or machines whenever you're doing an isolated exercise. Why? Because when you're doing this, a cable gives you resistance throughout the entire range of the motion. Now imagine me holding a dumbbell right here, and then I'm doing this. The force of the dumbbell is only going to act downwards because of gravity, obviously, correct? Now here, your biceps are going to get work because the force is right here. And as it moves on top, the force is right here. And as it moves on top, your biceps are not going to do any work. There's not going to be any resistance on your biceps. But whereas if you use a machine or a cable, the direction of resistance is always going to be this way. And when you pull the cable towards yourself, there's always going to be a resistance created. That is why it is always better to use machines and cables for isolated exercises, and hence it is good to use them for biceps also. Now there was a study conducted by ACE. So what they did was they picked all the exercises, the most commonly performed exercises in the gym, and they found out which is the most effective one by keeping, let's call them sensors, on your muscles and seeing which exercise gives a better response. And the top pick was concentration curls, and the second one was cable curls. Okay. Now the reason for this to happen is the reason that I just told you. Concentration curls came on top because you are eliminating your anterior deltoids, and the entire emphasis goes to your biceps. That is one of the reasons why concentration curls came on top. And also, when you're doing concentration curl, you're dropping your arm right here, and when you're doing this, even if you use a dumbbell, there is going to be resistance created throughout the entire range of motion. And that is why concentration curls came on top. The second thing was machine curls. Why? Because of the reason that I just told you. You're using a machine, you're using a cable. Because of that, you're going to have resistance throughout the entire range of motion. Now I'll drop down the study down in the description box. You can click the link and see how the study works, and you can probably learn more. Now moving on to triceps, it is almost the same thing, because even triceps, all the workouts that you do for triceps are isolated exercises, and you need to remember to use cables for most of the workouts. And you need to understand how the tricep anatomy works. Now this is your long head, this is your short head, and this is your medial head. So if you want a complete tricep development, I'm going to give you guys a couple of things, okay? When you're doing something like a cable push down, this part is going to be worked more, correct? So now you're getting one half of the work done. Now the other half is this. And in order to work the long head of your triceps, you need to make sure you're keeping your arm in a locked position like this, like this. And that is when you're going to work the long head of your triceps. This is why we perform cable push downs and things like overhead extensions or overhead dumbbell extensions. Again, even though I told you guys, it's better to use cables. So rather than performing an overhead dumbbell extension, it is always good to perform an overhead cable extension, correct? And again, rather than doing something like a skull crusher, it is always good to do something like a cable push down. Why? Because you're using cable for isolated exercises. This is pretty much it when it comes to building your arms. This is one part of the video. Now let's move on to the other one, where I'm talking about volume of workout. One of the most common mistakes that people do is they get over enthusiastic about developing their arms and they kind of overtrain them. And this is going to give you guys a lot of disadvantage because you're going to feel that your biceps are not, your arms are not getting developed. So what you're going to do is you're going to work them more and more and more. So basically what you're doing is you're overworking them and they're not going to have time to get recovered. My advice to you is, this is general advice. Per week, I think the amount of volume that you should be giving for your biceps and triceps should be somewhere around 12 sets. Now this is a very generic volume that I'm giving you, but this kind of works for a lot of percentage of people if you're getting into lifting. And the amount of weight that you're supposed to be using should be somewhere around 60 to 75 to 80% of your 1 rep max. Now 1 rep max is nothing but the amount of weight which you can do the exercise for just 1 rep. Okay, so that's why it's called a 1 rep max. So the amount of weight that you should be using should somewhere be around 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max. And so the weight that you should be using should somewhere be around 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max. And the rep range that you want to use should also be around 6 to probably 12 reps, 13, 14 reps maximum. So this should be a rep range and this should be the amount of weight that you're using, and the amount of sets that you should do should probably be around 12 sets for each muscle group per week. Now this can be split in whichever way you want, okay? So I usually work my arms along with another muscle group. I never work my arms alone. So what I do is I do a push-pull leg routine. So when I'm doing push, my tricep gets worked, and when I'm doing pull, my bicep gets worked. So keep all these things in mind and make sure you build a workout program around this. Now, these are the basic simple tips to get big arms. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Just open a Twitter account, so follow me on that too. And I'll see you guys on the next one.